kude kule kuna bahati. God bless Africa.
Recording in progress.
And other parts It's a collaboration between Nairobi Innovation Week and Innovation for African Universities program, which is a British Council program. I'll not talk more about it because I know some will be telling us more about this program. But what I can only say, this is a program which is actually spread in 5 countries. The UK, then we have Kenya here, we have South Africa, we have Ghana and Nigeria. So we are here, we are international and we are global. Let's appreciate ourselves for being in a project that is connecting nations, that is connecting the world. And you see the program is known as Innovation for African Universities. You'll be hearing stories of what the UK universities in partnership with universities in sub-Saharan Africa are actually doing to innovate and to create the solutions that can actually solve youth unemployment and make youth more employable. So for the students also joining us online, it is very, very critical you follow this session, because you learn what we are doing across 5 countries to come up with the solutions that will solve that big, big problem of unemployability of the youth. So without further ado, I want to welcome my guests. I'll start with Andrew. Please be up on the stage. Join me here. It's a nice place to be. Let's appreciate him as he comes. Okay, fantastic. I want also to welcome Professor Sam. Yes, this is a nice place. You know, I'm just here alone. I need, just come. Take. Yes. Thank you, Professor Sam. Your seat is just next to mine. Okay, fantastic. Then we have Dr. David Xiao, Strathmore University. Please join us on stage. The Kenyan style, appreciate them. You know, they will be telling us their innovation stories. We need to motivate them at this point. Then we have Dr. Renson Mushiri, KCA University. Yeah, we are talking about connecting nations. We are talking about connecting universities. I want to call Ernest Shitechi. His name is a tongue twister. So appreciate Ernest as he comes to join us in the panel discussion. Then we have the ready segments. Dr. Pamela Murenji. I know you are wondering online. Yeah, there are no ladies in this panel. Let's appreciate her as she comes. Fantastic. Then we have another powerful lady, Dr. Beatrice Mysori, and you have to appreciate her more. She was my student, and now she's teaching at Riara University. Okay, fantastic. So we have all our panel on stage, and now we'll start this session. And it's now my pleasure to welcome Andrew to come and give us the opening remarks. Andrew, karibu sana. I know you have just come here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and a real pleasure to be here. Thank you, Professor Kanoti, for inviting me and to be on this distinguished panel with all of you. So, why are we here? We're here because Africa matters to the world. In fact, 60% of the African population is under 25. This will double in the next 30 years. The future of the world's youth is African, and that's why Africa matters so much to the future of the world. But we are missing a huge opportunity right now. The opportunity that's being lost is that over 2/3 of African youth who are not students are unemployed. Youth who do leave the education system end up in a situation where often they're not living to their life's potential and not able to achieve the livelihood or career opportunities that they seek. We need to do a lot more for them. So what can be done? Well, Engaging that energy, that innovative spirit of African youth is really the big opportunity that we want to discuss with all of you today. And universities are uniquely placed for us to achieve that. What do universities need to do? Well, Innovation for African Universities program is looking at lots of opportunities that we can do to improve the university system so that it creates graduates who have the opportunities that they should have to have the livelihoods and launch the businesses that they want to launch. We need to break down old approaches to teaching and education. We need to teach entrepreneurial skills across all classrooms, not just those in a business course. We need to better connect the demand in the economy to the skills that are actually being taught in universities. Now, our program, which, as Professor Kanoti said, is a partnership between us, the University of Nairobi, the Change School, and London City University, works with over 90 universities across the 4 countries and the UK to really build that ecosystem of entrepreneurship. We're testing ideas, and we're making innovative changes in universities. And many of you are part of that here today, so thanks, and thanks for showing me a lot of your work today. Now, in this session, we're going to go through a lot of the different projects and give you some examples, and afterwards, I'd really welcome anybody's thoughts on what we can do even more to support that. We have a really big opportunity here to change the world for a better place through university innovation. And I look forward to hearing everybody's questions and talking with you later. Thanks, panel.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Yeah, let's do it the Kenyan way. Let's appreciate him. The Kenyan way. Thank you. So fantastic. It's now my pleasure to welcome Professor Sam to come also and give us more details about this program, Innovation for African University. Professor Sam, welcome. And the Kenyan way, appreciate it.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Habari. Thank you. Thank you, Mary, for inviting us and for your distinguished leadership of the Nairobi Innovation Week, as well as your input into the IAU program. In observing all protocols, I would like to recognize the University of Nairobi leadership that is present, that have supported and gave us a home when we came knocking to invite the University of Nairobi to be part of the IAU program. I also want to recognize any government officials that are present, because I know that some of our ecosystem players are actually government bodies that are involved in youth funding and youth entrepreneurship. And of course, I want to recognize the British Council, without whom we would not be here. I want to recognize the leadership of Andrew Zezan in providing not just the funding, but the program leadership and program vision that we are now celebrating. So it was the British Council's idea to link entrepreneurship and the solving of the problems that Andrew alluded to, youth and unemployment. That if we capacitate the ability to be more entrepreneurial in the university ecosystems, that can eventually help us to resolve the unemployment situation in Africa. And their vision was to do that in a community of practice of like-minded professionals within universities and ecosystem partnerships around the 4 countries we're talking about, including UK, the 5th country, so that as they interact, they could exchange knowledge and skills in a mutually beneficial way and share insights using local evidence from the African landscape, and then capacitate their ecosystems by coming up with the relevant solutions to the context that are all too different across the 4 countries, and then be able to teach our students better, to support them better and allow them eventually not just to be employable themselves, but to be able to create companies that can actually employ other people, other youth, and that was the vision. So today I'm representing the Center of Excellence, who took on board that vision, and all we're doing is to implement this vision and bringing it to life. We are an entity called the Center of Excellence that was set up by the British Council to run this program. And just by way of introducing ourselves, we are a consortium of three entities who all bring complementary capabilities to the consortium. I represent Bayes Business School, City University of London, which in collaboration with Change School, a young innovative ecosystem player based in London, and obviously the University of Nairobi, represented by Professor Mary. We form a Center of Excellence that has designed and delivered the IAU program. So the leadership team is drawn from these entities, and there's Neil and Viren from Change School, Sarah and myself from City University, and Professor Mary. Now, obviously, I just want to say, because I've met a lot of my colleagues who are part of the Center of Excellence for the first time this week. I've only seen them in virtual meetings. I just want to recognize the excellent Center of Excellence staff, without whom this program would not be a vibrant community. So we have Julie Siege, our program manager. Is she in the room somewhere? Yes, there's Julie. Hi, Julie. Nice to see you face to face. And then there's Lydia Zachary, our program officer. And then there's Eva. I don't know whether Eva is here. Kamau, our community and marketing manager, because we have quite a lot of things to do in terms of keeping the community vibrant. And lastly, but not least, Rebecca, who also provides us with marketing support. So this is the team that we have at the Center of Excellence, and we have managed to develop a vibrant community over the last 6 to 7 months. There is something unique about the IAU program. It's an approach that uses a lot of facilitated leadership to get a community going by allowing the community members to deepen their understanding of their context, and then after they've done that, understand the solution space, choose an optimal solution to implement in their university programs, and then entering a phase 2 where they implement that particular solution. So this is where we are at now. We have a vibrant community of over 300 individuals in 80 entities across the 5 countries that are now 3 months into implementing their unique solutions in their universities, particularly the 24 focal universities, African universities that are part of the program. And so we are here because I believe that we have something to shout about, right? We have something that is happening on a weekly basis, January this year, where in every university there is an event. In any one of our universities that are part of the partnerships, there is an event or an activity whereby the following things are happening. It's either the lecturers, just like myself, are being trained, train the trainer workshops. Curriculums are being changed or adapted or created to be far much more relevant to teaching entrepreneurship. The content of this is being deployed into digital platforms so that that content can be easily accessible, and other delivery channels are being created. And as this is happening, we are onboarding students in all these 24 universities, students that want to be entrepreneurial or that are entrepreneurial but that are potential entrepreneurs, and they are being better trained, better prepared, better supported, better mentored, and so forth and so on. So you can imagine across Africa in the next 3 to 4 months, this is what is happening in every one of those universities, and this is all due to them being part of this platform, being part of the IAU program. And thank you to British Council for making this happening. And we think that it's an amazing fit, because for every student that is onboarded into the IAU program, whether it's 1 student or 40 students, or 50 students or 100 students, there is the increased likelihood that that 1 student can be the next Dangote, right? That 1 student can be the next Strive Masiwa and so forth and so on, and help to change the African landscape. So thank you very much to British Council for that help, and I think let's recognize the help that the British Council has given us. So like I said, we need to be able to tell this story far much better and far much more frequently. And when Professor Mary came up with the proposal that we should be here at the Nairobi Innovation Week, and she insisted, justifiably so, because we have a story to tell. And because we're in Kenya, we are focused on the 5 project areas that are focused on Kenya. And we have here an excellent panel that I will now take the opportunity to introduce and tell you more about their backgrounds before we sit down and get them to tell their innovation stories, which I'm sure you'll be excited about. Now, to my immediate left and your right, we have David Chiao. He's a senior lecturer and dean of the School of Tourism and Hospitality at Strathmore University. He's a zoologist and has extensive experience in the development sector. Welcome, David. We're looking forward to hearing your story. Next to David, there's Renson Muchiri. He's the Director of Quality Assurance and a Senior Lecturer of Business Research and Methods and Entrepreneurship at KCA University in the School of Business, and he's the project lead on the African side for his project. Welcome, Renson. Looking forward to hearing your story. Third, next to Andrew, jumping Andrew for a while, is Mr. Ernest Chitechi. He's actually representing our ecosystem partner of his project partnership as the project lead. He's the corporate services manager, Kenya Climate Innovation Center, that is housed at the Strathmore Business School. Thank you, Ernest. Next to Ernest is Dr. Pamela Mureji. Pamela is a lecturer and innovation champion at the Technical University of Kenya and also an adjunct faculty at Strathmore Business School, where she teaches innovation, strategy, and entrepreneurship. Right now, I understand she's a research fellow with the university in Joburg, right? Welcome, Pamela. Last but not least, we've got Dr. Beatrice Matiri Maisori. So she's multi-talented, so she brings forth over 20 years of experience. I know that in my interaction with her, she's an expert in China-Africa relations, and she's done a lot of research on that. Now moving into tech transfer in universities. She's a practicing business executive, and research interests are still in China foreign direct investment. And she has interest in mobile tech, renewable energy, and so forth and so on. So Beatrice is representing one of the exciting projects that we saw launched on Monday, and we're looking forward to hearing the progress that they've made. So there you have it. We have 5 very interesting projects, and I just want to sit down with them and allow them to tell their story as we delve into the progress that they've made so far. Can we have another mic? Another set.
Okay, thank you, Professor Sam. Before probably we start with that, because I know Andrew will be sitting in another panel, I want to take him to the audience because you come for the panel again. But let's appreciate him for giving us, the support from British Council. Thank you very much. Sam, you can go ahead. You can be sharing the mics. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Mary. Thank you, Professor Mary. Welcome again, gentlemen and ladies. It's time to tell our innovation stories. Starting with you, David. Please share with the audience just by giving us background, the name of your project, briefly, what your collaborators are, who they are, just their names and not their roles, and tell us the solution that you are implementing and what it is set out to do in brief terms.
Thank you very much, Andrew. And you told me to give it very brief. Our project is accelerating youth entrepreneurship and innovation in sustainable tourism development for Africa. Our approach is simple: creating the ecosystem for startup development and growth. The core of it is looking at the youth and the youth business enthusiasts, which is really a growing number, not only in Kenya, but we mapped South Africa and Ghana. So within the project of accelerating youth entrepreneurship and innovation in sustainable tourism development in Africa, we have partners in Ghana. So we have University of Ghana as one of the partners. We have African tourism partners from South Africa. And then we have Sustainable Tourism and Travel Agenda from Kenya, which is an industry partner in the tourism sector. And then we have Strathmore University from the academic side, and then partnering with also University of Brighton from the UK. So we are creating a bigger ecosystem to be able to enhance the tourism startup uptake by the youth in universities in Ghana, University of Ghana, Strathmore University, and universities in South Africa. So in simple sense, Andrew, that's what we're doing now, really enhancing that kind of a platform for youth to take up tourism projects, tourism businesses, tourism startups. Yep.
Sorry, we have to share the mic. No. I'm Sam, by the way. Yes, yeah, no, that's fine. So thanks, David. If you just share with us as well, I think your platform is very exciting because it is quite internationalized, and so you're broadening access. Is your platform digital as well? And secondly, what would you say is the main achievement or the chief achievement now at present in your project implementation?
Thank you very much, Sam. On implementation, one thing that we achieved so far is training facilitators and coaches on how the enterprise or entrepreneurship ecosystem works. That was at the initial. Then from that point, we also managed to bring in 15 students from every country, over 45 students involved in this entrepreneurship ecosystem. Now, the students who are involved in the project have been able to identify, map, and set up their startup ideas. So these startup ideas have been moving. Number 3, there have been effective coaching ongoing, building students' ideas, looking at different cases, which cases are working, which ones are not working, which are the models. So the youths have been trying to model their business ideas along a facilitation plan that is that includes quite a number of coaches from the 3 different partners. So those are some of the things that we've been able to do so far up to this time.
Excellent, David. It's great that we have a platform that is working and that is functional and that is onboarded students. Now, David, what you think is going to be your biggest achievement as a project, say, in the next 3 to 4 months?
Fantastic. Sam, you said it at the beginning. Even if we'll get that one student whose idea will fly big and get up as a startup for the tourism business running, we would be the happy group. So in the next 3 months, as our students are progressing in the coaching process, we are looking forward to having a number of projects moving to the next level of evaluation. There's a testing of the student entrepreneur projects. We have a platform where we are going to screen these projects. And so far up to now, from Strathmore University, University of Ghana, and the partnership in South Africa, we can already see a number of student projects ongoing. So in the next 3 to 4 months, we'll be screening students' projects. And we'll be picking out projects that will be going to a level of competition, because we are going to take students' project to competition to the judging process. We already have mapped judges who are going to review the project. So those projects that will be picked as top brand projects that are tested and are able to move to the next level of business startup, we would be a very happy team.
Excellent. Thanks, David. We're looking forward to that final pitch and the final showcasing of your project. I just want to move on to the next project, but before that, I'm told that there is a video interlude. Professor Mary, is that right? There's a video that is going to be played that is showcasing one of our other projects that is not in the room.
So thank you very much. We want now to take you to Ghana. We have listened what Kenyan are innovating. We want to play a video because we said this program is learning in 4 countries, and we want to take you to Ghana and just see. They were not able to be with us, but they will be with us through a video. So Project Kenton, I know they are with us online. So we'll actually be telling their innovation story through Project Kenton. Let's go.
Welcome to Project Kenton, a member of the IAU programme sponsored by the British Council. Project Kenton is a partnership between Regional Maritime University Ghana and Durham University in the UK. Glad you asked. The bag. That's a bag full of opportunity inspired by the Kente fabric. Project Kenton starts with an understanding of the significance of unemployment and underemployment in Ghana. Entrepreneurship can make a difference, and Project Kenton is building a toolbox to work on a specific problem, equipping young people to make a real difference. Unemployment needs entrepreneurship, and that means viable options.
So thank you very much. That's, we just did a taster. So we were in Ghana just understanding what they are doing. It's called Project Kenton. And now I'll give it back to Professor Sam to go ahead and let the Kenyan project continue telling us their innovation stories. Professor Sam.
Thank you, Professor Mary. Project Kenton was very exciting for us because it introduced some excitement on the platform. There was a recipe competition which they introduced around how we can best use certain ingredients in Africa that will help us reduce post-harvest losses. So it's a great project about how a university can be thinking about engaging their ecosystem in a different manner, but in a way that enhances entrepreneurship. Our next innovation story here in Kenya is represented by Renson. Renson, I just want, if you could please give a background for your project, just the name of the project, who the project partners are, and a brief description just for our background of the solution you are implementing.
Thank you, Prof. Our project is co-production for entrepreneurship, youth entrepreneurship in Kenya. And we are partnering with the University of Nottingham in the UK, then KCA University where I work, and also with the Youth Enterprise Fund, which excuse me, most of us here know the Youth Enterprise Fund is one of our major government parastatal or wing that deals with youth employment to support their employment. Now, our main thrust in our project is, first of all, and when we started, first of all, our main concern is the inability of our students, having gone through our education system, to connect the learning that takes place in the class to the practice that is out there in the field. And that is the question we were asking ourselves, why? And So, and that is what we are dealing with, and our solutions are rotating around that area of bridging that gap between the theory and the practice of entrepreneurship.
Thanks, Renson. And how exactly are you doing that, and what has been your greatest achievement so far?
The first thing that we're doing, and we first of all went to the field in the first place. We got data. We talked to the university graduates who are doing some businesses, small businesses. And we sought to understand from them what exactly they were applying that they had learned. And majority of them is like, yes, we did go to school. It has helped us to be able to gain general knowledge, but we are not able, if I'm doing marketing for my project, the marketing I learned in school is not working in the field when I come to do my small business. And so we wanted to understand why, and they told us practical. There is a gap between the practice of marketing, for example, and what we are learning in class. And having that knowledge in our mind, we sought out to come up with some solutions. And one of the solutions we have come up with is a youth enterprise resource hub. It is going to be online, where the youth, for example, we realized that some youth will take some programs. You're doing, let's say, a Bachelor of Commerce or a Bachelor of Zoology or something like that. But in between, you realize you want to start a business. But you realize you don't have much knowledge on marketing. So you can grow some flowers, but you don't know how to sell them. You need some knowledge also of some technical knowledge on doing some kind of accounting. Now, these students do not have because they are now nascent entrepreneurs, they do not have much time to go back to class, stay there for 3 months, stay there for a month, but they can get time off to be able to access such a resource where such resources are available. So we got in the hub, we've got various resources that will be available to young entrepreneurs, and all they need is to register, and then they can access those resources. They are able even to be connected to mentors, because we will also be registering mentors, so online, and they can have a chat with them. We will also be having some interviews and some recording, some stories, narratives of successful youth entrepreneurs who can tell their story, how they began and how they have gone through. And they are able now to give them, to help them understand the journey of entrepreneurship. That is number one. And there is much more to that. I can't say all of it to the resource hub.
No, thanks, Renson. I just wanted to find out, by June, July, when would be this resource hub be at? What do you expect to have done by June, July?
We expect the resource hub to be running by end of July. So by the time we close in July.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So we have another digital platform and another way of resourcing our students. It seems that we can do much more things digitally and access far much more resources digitally, which is one key theme of the program and the mandate that we're given. Over to you, Ernest. Just before you go on, Ernest, is it a video?
Yes,
Okay.
Before we continue, we would like also to take you to South Africa, just to have a taster what is happening in South Africa. ICT when you are ready. Or Sam can continue when you are ready.
So our project is looking at
Yeah. Here we go.
So our project is looking at wheelchair design in South Africa. We're focusing on people with disabilities, and what we're looking at is how can we support them with both manufacturing technology skills as well as entrepreneurial skills. What we found is that lots of people in South Africa who have a disability can't actually get a regular job, and often are self-employed. So what we want to do is we want to give them the skills they need to start their own businesses. What we found is in our initial study is that lots of people with disabilities are taught kind of manual skills. So it might be basket weaving, those sorts of things. But actually young people of today with disabilities don't necessarily want to have those skills. They're really interested in skills such as CAD, advanced manufacturing techniques, something that is really a high level of skill, and that's what they want to develop in, and that's what hopefully what this project will do, is support them, giving them those skills, but also the entrepreneurship skills to actually enable them to sell their products that they make.
Hi, I'm Skalk van der Merwe. I'm from South Africa, and I've been in a wheelchair since 1991, and for the past 31 years I've been developing wheelchairs for the local community. The rural community's mobility is quite a challenge, and without the right devices or equipment, most people will be stuck at home for the biggest part of the day, and they will actually never get out of the house. So we knew that there was something that we had to do to get them more mobile. They can have access to shops and to get out of their houses, and to just be part of the family and just to have fun in life.
My name is Jared McIntyre, and yes, I've been involved in wheelchair rugby since 2010. And yeah, I had a diving accident in 2007 where I broke my neck, and my 6th and 7th vertebra were damaged. And in 2010, I was introduced to wheelchair rugby for the first time, and that has become my passion and sport that I take part in. And as the years went on, I saw a lot of challenges that faced the sport in South Africa, and one of them being the access to cost-effective equipment to enable more people to take part in the sports, and hence my reason for looking at designing and manufacturing cost-effective solutions for increasing awareness and developing the sport. But in between the manufacturing projects, we have a skills development program for people with disabilities to learn skills to actually manufacture these chairs. So yeah, 2 of our employees are people with disabilities, which yeah, they have received their Masita accredited training for welding, and they will continue with their training between projects to be able to increase their skill level and be able to work, eventually even start their own businesses.
Any help and any professional help out there for us is amazing, because we don't have that knowledge that the universities has, and the help that we can get from anybody to make the lives for people here in South Africa, not only South Africa, in Africa, better. So for us, it's amazing to know that we can get support from other people to help people here in our country.
For me personally, it's fantastic. You know, I'm always really interested in applying research to real problems, to looking at how we can actually, not just from an academic point of view, but how we can practically solve problems on the field that are real life issues. And so projects like this just get me really excited, because we're actually hopefully seeing a wheelchair come to life, for business supported, the future generations of designers, entrepreneurs coming together to solve problems. So that's what really interests me, is practical applied research that has a real impact on the world.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary. An exciting project in South Africa that allows us to really think back about what the role of universities really should be. This is an example of how ecosystems may have to or should reach out to communities that we don't normally focus on in terms of ecosystem development. We're moving on with our Kenyan stories, and we've had one sector focus with tourism with David. We now move to Ernest, who also has not just digital tools they are implementing, but also a sector focus. Ernest, can you tell us about the background of your project and what solution you are implementing?
Yeah, so thank you. The background of our project started because we realized that all of us, particularly in Kenya, we are affected by climate change, and we realized the only way we can combat climate change is through innovation, also through transdisciplinarity, where you bring together different disciplines to solve those particular challenges, and also inclusivity, where you're not just looking at women, but also young people, women, because they're the most vulnerable in our society. So we came up with a project that we are calling Transforming Climate Innovation Ecosystems through inclusive transdisciplinarity. And this project, what it's looking at is to identify some very niche climate innovations that are either being done by young people or by women, and they are solving particular climate innovations, and then linking up these climate innovation entrepreneurs with skills from our universities to solve either whether it's a business challenge that they could be facing, or whether it could be a technical. So then that way it also helps them move to a next level where they can commercialize. And also on the other side, also looking at the policy, because one of the things we realized was that you can have a very good innovation, but before you take it to the market, you may realize actually it's illegal. A good case would be assuming somebody comes up with very good early maturing seeds. They'll just not go out and start selling those particular seeds unless they go through a process, maybe through Kenya Bureau of Standards, Kenya Plants, KEFIS, so that they are then satisfied before you take them to the market. Otherwise, if you take them to the market before it goes through that particular process, you may be arrested, and actually is a very good innovation that will ensure that there's also food security. So that's what our program is all about, just to see how do we build this climate innovation ecosystem using universities, through policy also. And it's being implemented by a number of partners. So it's being led by University of Sussex in the UK, University of Johannesburg in South Africa. In Kenya, we have Jaramogi Oginga Odinga University that is providing with us the students. We also have the African Center for Technology Studies that also helps us in areas around research. And finally, my organization where I work in, Kenya Climate Innovation Center, where we work with these innovations in climate technology, and we are the ones identifying these innovations.
Thanks, Ernest. A beautiful story. I like the idea that we need to give our students access to real-life companies to work in and to work with as a way of their own development as well. So that's a unique angle of your project. And university needs to be able to do that, and it's not a trivial task. I just wanted to also find out from you, because I think we're running out of time, where are you with your implementation, and what do you expect to have done by June, July?
Yeah, in terms of implementation, one, we held 2 workshops. One of the workshops was with the entrepreneurs, just to try and identify what are their needs. Are there needs that can be met through partnership with universities? Then we also held another one with the entire stakeholders, including policymakers, just to understand what would be their input in ensuring that the climate innovation ecosystem actually is enabled to move to the next level. Then with that, we moved to the next level, where then we've identified the entrepreneurs, about 15 of them, and then we've worked with our university, that's Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, to then identify some students based on the needs from the 15 entrepreneurs. So we are planning to have a physical matchmaking event, whereby then these students and these entrepreneurs will meet try and match them with the ones with different skills. But in addition to that, we are also developing a digital platform. And what this digital platform will then do will be, if there's any climate innovation entrepreneur anywhere in Kenya, you can actually access that platform. You can log in, upload your need, whether it is business or whether it is technical, and then we'll also open it up to other universities, so that there could be students, whether they are University of Nairobi, even in the UK or anywhere in the world. You could actually then say, I've identified a particular need from Kenya, and I think I'm the right full student because I have ABCD skills, and I can work with this enterprise to solve some of their challenges. So that's where we are, and we are hoping to launch that particular platform on the 13th of May. And all now are matchmaking, and we'll be sharing the success stories thereafter. Thank you.
Thanks, Ernest. I hope you can reuse your matchmaking software in other sectors. Right? Thank you. It's exciting development.
We look forward to that. Once we pilot this one, we can see how that can be used, maybe even to help David in his tourism.
Yeah. Okay. So we thank you. Thank you so much. Looking forward to your events in the coming months. Pamela, you are next. If you could please tell us your partners, the name of your project, and the solution you are implementing.
Okay, so our partnership is called the Youth Entrepreneurship.
I think it's not on. Maybe it's not.
Hello. Yeah. So our partnership is called the Youth Entrepreneurship Accelerator Platform. It's also known as YEP. So this is a platform that is going to act as a virtual accelerator or a business incubator, for that matter. So what it does, we are trying to solve the problem of youth unemployment, but sustainably through this digital innovation platform. We know that incubators or accelerators can assist young people with their businesses, shield them from harsh business environment, give them access to resources. For example, they can get mentors, they can get learning material, they can actually get trainings going on. But accelerators and incubators are very few in the country. We know they do help, but they are very few. Most of them target certain sectors, mostly the IT sectors. In the earlier section, we got people who are speaking here in the panel who've been in these few and far between incubators. So we thought about it and we say, can we be able to come up with a virtual accelerator platform that a rural youth in Kenya, whether they're in Siaya, whether they're in Kisii, they can be able to log into this platform at their own comfort, at their own time. They will be able to get access to mentors. They'll get access to these resources because generally entrepreneurship is a very lonely process. I know that because I teach entrepreneurs. So it's a lonely process, but all of a sudden they get access to a community of practice. They get access to other entrepreneurs. They can have case studies that they can read about. And we have made it so interactive such that you can go into that virtual accelerator platform. You see a mentor, you send them a friendship request, they respond. Then you could start a conversation, explain what your business is about, and in that way, you can be able to actually get access to a mentor who's in Nairobi, and later we are hoping this will go out to the wider East African region. So what were we trying to solve? The fact that in sub-Saharan Africa, the youth do open businesses. We have a lot of early-stage entrepreneurial activity happening, but most of them do not scale and become sustainable. So we are hoping through this skills development, through this platform, a lot of the youth who start those enterprises can be able to learn, to get the skills, the capacity building, the mentorship, and even funding. We are hoping to partner with government entities. We are hoping to get links that take these entrepreneurs to how they can register, how they can protect the intellectual property, and basically everything that they need to learn about entrepreneurship. In this way, all those ideas that are residing in our rural communities that have not been able to reach us, we are hoping that we are able to tap into those opportunities. Thank you.
Thanks, Pamela. I know that your project is now almost completely finished, right, in terms of execution. What would you say has been the most rewarding experience for you participating in the IAU program?
The most rewarding experience, I think, is even as a lecturer and a scholar, getting myself into a community of practice of like-minded people. And from what we are discussing, you could hear some of what we are doing. We did not discuss when we are doing this proposal, but we are actually gearing towards the same thing. So just being able to talk within a week, twice or three times, to a community of practice with like-minded people who have the ultimate same goals as you, that has been the most rewarding experience for me.
Yeah, thanks, Pamela. Yeah, there are similarities across the project, but with different angles, right? And I like that your angle is similar to the one about disability in South Africa, that you're also targeting a different demographic, you know, the rural areas that are not normally looked at. We're just going to go for a brief video interlude looking at one of our projects in Nigeria, and Mary is going to look at it, differentiate.
Yes, differentiate, and this is a project learning in Nigeria, because all of them would not have been here to tell their innovation story. As I said earlier, it's important just to have that taster, because there are a number of projects learning in that in the 4 countries. Just looking at my ICT just to see. There we go. Thank you.
Sustainable development in Africa is seeing a range of challenges which impacts on the environment, economic prosperity, the health and well-being of Africans. These challenges, however, provide huge opportunities to facilitate the co-design, co-development and co-delivery of sustainable initiatives and solutions which directly address the UN Sustainable Development Goals. One of such initiatives is the British Council-funded Applying the Power of Co-Design to Stimulate Entrepreneurial Thinking in Scientists, or SETS, under the Digital University Africa program. Are you an African academic, a researcher, or a scientist? Would you like to improve the real-world impact of your research? Do you need to deliver entrepreneurship education to your students? Would you like to increase your partnerships and enhance your resources to meet your research needs? The SETS online program, centered on a place-based entrepreneurship model, is the right program for you and your institution.
In the wake of the pandemic, the digitization of higher education has the potential to transform and disrupt the status quo. Participation in this online program, aimed at stimulating entrepreneurial thinking in African scientists, will provide solution-focused tools and techniques driven by partnerships to meet society's challenges and opportunities.
Co-designed by Lancaster University and its African partners, the University of Benin and Igbenedion University, both in Nigeria, Lancaster University, Ghana, the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, Ghana, and Kenyatta University in Kenya.
Entrepreneurial thinking is not just about starting a business. It's about making a positive impact within your institution, your region, and your local community. For this impact to be sustained, this programme highlights that it must be place-based within the local context, co-designed and co-developed with others, and aimed towards building a legacy. The SETS online programme is unique and focuses on 5 key activities: understanding the foundations of entrepreneurial thinking, identifying opportunities, building connections, sharing knowledge, and celebrating success.
Many African universities and research institutes do not commonly nurture private sector connections to provide solution-driven research.
Thank you to Project Differentiate, the guys who are championing place-based entrepreneurship, just highlighting the importance of contextualizing our teaching, and they have a huge task ahead of them, and we're looking forward to the solutions that they have in their curriculum development, but also in the way that ecosystems should be shaped differently according to the context. So that's an exciting ambition. And last but not least, in our Kenyan stories, we have Dr. Beatrice, and please tell us the name of your project, the partners, and give us a brief background of the solution you are implementing.
Thank you very much. So maybe before I should bring our goodwill messages from our Vice Chancellor, Riara University, Professor Gateru, and our DVC, Academic and Finance, Dr. Mureidi, and of course the technical lead of this project, Professor Abel. All of them are following online, and for us at Riara University, it's been a pleasure and a joy to actually take part in this particular project. So the ISU, which is Accelerating Entrepreneurship Support for Universities in Kenya, is a partnership, education partnership project between the Open University, UK, led by Dr. Michael Ngoasong, and Riara University, led by Professor Abel, and then an ecosystem partner, Ashoka East Africa, led by Vincent Odhiambo. I think among everybody that has spoken, we were the only one that have officially launched our project. And I think those of us who attended the official launch at Riara University on Monday can actually really attest to the excitement, to the enthusiasm, to the, the joy from, all stakeholders, the students, the faculty, the stakeholders who are taking part in this project, who are all in attendance, and of course, British Council, who attended the official opening session on Monday. You can actually really feel the enthusiasm, even from the testimonials that were given by the participating cohort, learning cohort. So what are we doing with the ISU project? So just really to give a background about the same, at Riara University we nurture innovators. And we have two main foundational courses that allow students to actually get the entrepreneurial skills, but also one unit that allows students to understand our context, our indigeneity as Africans, and the kind of social problems that we face in Africa. Now, this is the 12 weeks program, and we are able to, of course, bring in knowledge and skills about the entrepreneurship, but you realize that 12 weeks is honestly a very, very short time to actually engage a student and to allow them to learn by doing. I think one of the earlier speakers in the morning talked about the 70-20, 70-20-10 theory about learning, and 70% of learning really happens as you do, as you actually put on hands-in, practice into what you're doing. I think one of the other speakers in the morning also talked about the Chinese proverb, right? Tell me, I may forget. Show me, I may actually not get it to know, but allow me to practice, allow me to participate in my learning journey. Then this is really the way we learn. So for us, we realized as we did the earlier research in the phase 1 that we needed an additional step moving forward in terms of engaging the students into a deeper way of learning and really developing the skills in a deeper way. And one of our ecosystem partners, Ashoka Foundation, who's been in this journey for the last 40 years, was very instrumental in terms of letting us understand what exactly is the change-making journey, right? And allowing students, allowing young people, right? Some of them really as young as 12, 13, 18, to actually really bring in change and really contribute to bringing solutions to societal programs. So for us, we thought then it was very beautiful to come in and engage on this journey, which is a 6 months virtual accelerator program, which is really more hands-on, allowing the students to be able to take a part in not just redefining their problems, but also solving them and really as well validating and taking these solutions into the market. How are we doing this? We are engaging in a virtual accelerator. It's a virtual platform. And one of our key partners, Open Learning, is really an expert on open access learning. And we're doing quite a lot of journey in terms of learning. How do we create the virtual platforms, the virtual accelerator, but also how do we engage in more blended format kind of learning? Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Beatrice. I was there on Monday and I saw the excitement and students. I spoke to a student who is a creative, and he said that even though he's passionate about radio, he would not have considered it as a business until he heard about the virtual accelerator. So we have these talented students that are not necessarily our business school graduates who have talent and capabilities, but they actually have never thought about entrepreneurship until they come across it, right? So this speaks to the next session, I think, about how we need to think about what the role of universities should be. How do we mainstream entrepreneurship within universities and across universities into the society? So there you have it. We have 5 digital platforms, and that's the sort of commonality across them. But they're all different in that they either have a sector focus or a demographic focus or some other focus that is different, maybe in terms of the way they look at entrepreneurship, such as place-based entrepreneurship. But all in all, whether it's a sector focus or a discipline focus, the digitalization of these platforms allows better scalability. It allows, into the future, it allows better sustainability because these are digital resources and they're probably fungible. And it allows better access, to reach those communities that Pamela is talking about, the rural communities or communities that are not normally connected physically to the universities. And so we have a story to tell, and we're continuing all these stories in the coming few months with country-focused events. Thank you very much, distinguished panelists. Well done, and I hope to be seeing you in our platforms in the next few months.
Okay, fantastic. Another round of applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Professor Sam, for moderating this session. And I want to call you once again distinguished panelists, asanteni sana. Can our online participant join another hand of a clap to appreciate these innovation stories? When I got into this program, it's a program I have learned a lot, because it's a program which is learning in different contexts. Some are in low context, others are in high contexts. So I'll tell you, if you want to innovate, you need to collaborate with the people from all different walk of life and people with from different disciplines. Multidisciplinary is the way to go when you talk about innovation. I'll tell you, I have learned skill sets, behavior styles, mindsets, tool sets, and recently I learned something, hard sets. You can have everything you have, and I'm speaking to us young students. You can have all the knowledge you have in your mind, but if you don't translate that into your hard set, I will tell you. That's why we are told that when we graduate, we have the knowledge, but we don't have the hard set. So I learned that and I said, wow. So I want to tell the young students watching us or following us online, it's very, very critical to translate the knowledge set into hard set. And I always tell a story of my mother. What I know, I learned by doing. She would just sit me next to her and tell me, this is how you cook. This is how you peel potatoes. And many, many years after, in this program, I learned the story of hard sets. We must innovate by translating our knowledge into doing. So we must be ready to soil our hands, because the doing is not the easy part. If you are a farmer, and we have projects here which are talking about agriculture, you must be willing to use your hands to bring innovation around agriculture. So, if you forget everything I'll say today, my young students, remember, the knowledge set must get into hard set, the doing part. That is how we are going to innovate. That's why we are going to create opportunity for ourselves now and the future generation. And I actually said this during the opening ceremony. What we are today is because somebody else who went before us created things that we are enjoying today. So my challenge, as you have heard the innovation stories from Nigeria, from Ghana, South Africa, and Kenya, in collaboration with the UK University, I'm leaving each one of us with a challenge. What are you creating for the generation now in terms of innovation? What are you creating in terms of innovation and entrepreneurship for the future generation? We owe too much to the generation that has gone before us, because what we enjoy today, they did it for us. Let's do for the generation now and the future. A round of applause for our panelists and the moderator. Great session. Thank you very much. I'll now allow you to take the audience part, because we have another panel discussion. Asanteni sana, and I'll call the next speaker of the day, who has actually flown all the way from the UK. And as he come to the podium, because I'm being left here alone to join me. I want to introduce him as he comes. He's Firen Lal, Anjak Professor and Managing Director of Change School, UK. And actually his organization is the partner in this project, where we are formed Center of Excellence. Firen is an international executive educator, and he's an expert in that area. And as I talk that, you can go to Change School website. You validate what I'm saying. Has delivered program in entrepreneurship, innovation and design for change to faculties from 129 international higher education institution. And I want to repeat for the emphasis, 129 international higher education institution. He is the managing director once again of Change School, which runs program for executive and university faculty in 28 countries. Firen will be acting as the moderator for our next panel. With all that, I want to see how you appreciate Firen. Fantastic. That is number one. For him flying all the way from the UK to be with us physically in Kenya is a great honor. Another round of applause. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's my great honor now to allow others to be on stage. Andrew, thank you very much. I know you are here again. Karibu tena. Let's appreciate him as he comes. Okay, I want to welcome my dean, You know, I have to emphasize, Dean, Faculty of Business and Management Science, Professor James Jehia, because if I don't emphasize, when I go back to the faculty, you never know what might happen. So I should be in good book. The next one is Mr. Brian Mwenda, founder and CEO, Hope Tech Plus Limited. Can we appreciate Brian Mwenda? Because the story, I don't want to preempt his story, but the innovation story you hear from this young man will be amazing. I heard this story, I think 2 weeks or a week ago. I was a panelist at Bay Business School, City University of London, and Brian is being introduced physically. He was in London, and I'm being told you know this story, amazing story of Brian Mwenda. So he had to fly also to Kenya to come and tell us here, live, his innovation story. Fantastic. I want now again to take this opportunity to welcome our online panelists. And I'll start with Warren, co-founder, Koya Capital, with to us again. And I want the audience to appreciate you the Kenyan way. Thank you, thank you, thank you. He's zooming all the way from South Africa. He was actually supposed to come, but he was not able to come, but he's here with us. I'll tell you the way we do it. Karibu. Yeah, and we are waiting for you to come to Kenya here in person. Thank you very much. The next panelist is online. Dr. Sarah Jones, Bayes Business School, City University of London. We have worked with Sarah through this project, so when I talk about the knowledge set, the high and low, the knowledge and the hard set, so we have shared a lot in common, including with Professor Sam and Neil Marshalls, who is from Change School, who is not able to join us today. So Sarah, wave to us in Nairobi. Let's appreciate Sarah all the way from the UK. Fantastic. I think my job now is done. Firen, can you take it up? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary. Thank you very much. So I'm just going to introduce the panelists and give a little bit of their background. So on my extreme right is Professor James Jaya. Out here, he's the Dean of the Faculty of the Business School over here in University of Nairobi. He's got his PhD in the University of Warwick. And for those of you students over here, University of Nairobi, they run a fantastic program, evening MBA program out there, which has been a very successful and an innovation piece that's been done out in Nairobi. The next person that I'd like to introduce, and I've got multiple bios, is Sarah Jones, Dr. Sarah Jones. If we can see her somewhere on the Zoom screen. Her research and practice takes an interdisciplinary approach. We heard that in the previous panel, to study the study of creativity and design thinking in the context of innovation, education, and entrepreneurship. She's published significantly over 120 peer-reviewed papers in academic conferences and journals, and has been involved in funded programs of up to £13 million, supported 9 PhD students to completion. She holds a PhD in computer science, and obviously and runs the Center for Creativity and Professional Practice at Bayes Business School, City University. And I want to continue again with our online panelists first. The next gentleman out there is Warren Lafleur. He's the co-founder of Koya Capital, which is focused on developing a venture capital fund to enable university innovation across East, West, and South Africa through investments in university venture builders working to commercialize research and build groundbreaking spin-out companies solving local problems for global impact. Prior to that, Warren was working at LinkedIn in their EdTech team, and he led the entire team across the EMEA region, and from Finland to South Africa to support the transitions in teaching online in the light of pandemic. So welcome, Warren, out here. On my left, on my right, I'm privileged to have Andrew Zerzan. He directs the British Council's work in education, arts, and civil society across Africa. He's overseen some of the largest programs in higher education in the world, including UK's Erasmus Student Exchange Program and strategic partnerships for higher education innovation and reform. Andrew's passionate. You heard him before when he spoke about the next generation of African youth, empowering them to reach their full potential through entrepreneurship and the use of technology, skills development. He lives over here in Nairobi, hasn't traveled very far, with his lovely wife and a very large dog named Olive. What's really a big privilege for me is to introduce the last panelist, and I don't need to read anything about him. Brian is a graduate of the University of Nairobi. I met him in the UK. I met him through a UK program out here. Brian did his engineering over here, and he came up with the idea of wanting to help blind people move without mobility aids. So he's done multiple innovations, and his latest innovation is something called Sixth Sense, which allows the blind to wear a wearable device so that without a walking stick, without a cane or a stick, they're able to navigate and move normally. If you want to extend your imagination, think about smart cars and how human beings can operate in the same way where they don't have sight. And the problem he's solving affects 900 million people in the world today. Why are we having Brian here? Because Brian is a result of longitudinal collaborations across the institution. Our higher education institution over here that gave him the engineering skills. He then went ahead and joined the Africa Prize program at the Royal Academy of Engineering in the UK, then joined the Leaders in Innovation program with the same institution and went on to their advanced program. And now he's being supported by University College London's Global Disability Innovation Hub. And he was in the UK last week where he's launching his company in Bristol, or Brighton, is it Bristol? In Bristol, and he's running trials in Australia and in Austria through the support of Global Disability Innovation Hub. And each institution does something in the ecosystem to help him take him further. They're giving him ethical approval, access to human trials, and access to new markets. So I just want you, in your Kenyan way, give the biggest round of applause to Brian that you can. So Brian, I'm going to start off with you. Tell us about your journey as an entrepreneur from your graduate days.
Thanks a lot, Viren. Thanks. Thanks a lot, Viren, for that warm introduction. And I think I'm very, very happy, first of all, to be back here at the University of Nairobi, not as a student anymore. And I'm just so happy to see a lot of students participating in a session like this one. And I think in terms of research and innovation, the university has really improved in terms of opportunities for students. And I'd say the best place to start an innovation, if someone has an innovation idea, will be at the university right now. There are way more support opportunities, like such kind of programs that were not there when I was a student. And I think for me, most of the channels that I have had to go out and actively look for them. I'd say right now they're more accessible as a student at the university. So I started up with an innovation to help my friends who are visually impaired, and then there was a lot of engineering knowledge required, and my foundation in electrical and electronics engineering came in handy to help me to come up with the first prototypes. But beyond that, there is a lot that goes into coming up from an idea stage, developing this into a product that can be used by someone outside there in the world, and that's where partnerships come in. I think I couldn't have been able to do half of the work without partnerships, because something as simple as just going out and testing a prototype with someone who's visually impaired, you need to do a plan for that study, you need ethical approvals, you need to recruit these visually impaired people, and when you have some good partners around that, and universities are the best place to start, I think for us it has really worked in terms of the engineering, getting to the users, because that's one of the most important parts in our work. We are a user-centered company, meaning our users participate in all the development process.
Thank you, Brian. And I'm just going to take this discussion now over to Warren. Warren, you've heard Brian's journey out here. Can you tell us, can a single institution play a role in the development of an individual like Brian?
It's fantastic, Brian's story, right? Because not only is he of Kenyan origin, and in particular the University of Nairobi was his alma mater, but look how far he's traveled, right? And I think that I like to think that the entrepreneurial development process as a team sport, right, where you have specialist companies or institutions that focus on developing different aspects or supporting different aspects of that entrepreneurial journey. So Brian spoke about, team development or testing or the ideation of the process that he's gone through. And you have institutions that are actually very, very focused around, let's say, ideation or acceleration. And my experience suggests that those institutions are best placed within universities. It's the most cost-effective way to do it, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, I like to think that Brian got a very, very strong foundation, running the first leg of this multi-stage relay, if you can imagine that as being the metaphor, at the University of Nairobi, right, which created the impetus and the knowledge base for him not only to gain confidence in reaching out to other network partners, but importantly to give him that academic grounding to be able to test some of these ideas with other institutions. And I sort of like to imagine the difference between having this broad ecosystem participating and supporting Brian through the different phases of his emergence as an entrepreneur, and a single institution, right? A single large institution, which in principle can also do lots of this work. But I like to think that the difference could be in the diversity of thought that I'm sure that Brian would have been exposed to, the extensibility of the networks that he would have been exposed to as he went from place to place. And most importantly, the opportunity to leverage those networks to do other things, to be introduced to other partners, et cetera, et cetera. So I love the Brian story. I think it's fantastic to see his emergence from, his alma mater, and now, working pretty much across the world, right? And I think that the ecosystem, would have enabled those types of outcomes.
Thank you very much, Warren. Sarah, your views on that, please.
So in terms of I'm just kind of making notes on messages emerging. I love the theme of teamship, if you like, connections, community, collaboration across disciplines. So I certainly believe there are things that institutions can do on their own in leading by example. And we heard some great examples earlier on in the first panel of how universities are doing just that in their specific areas of experience and expertise. I think that there's so much more to be gained, though, through collaboration across partner organizations with different skill sets that can work together to provide broad support. And I'm very hopeful that that kind of collaboration can move us beyond some of the things currently in universities that can mitigate against innovation and entrepreneurship in certain circumstances. Hence, I was so delighted to hear Brian say that university can be the best place to start a journey such as his.
Thank you very much, Sarah. And Andrew, I'm going to come over to you because the IAU program, by its sheer design, is not a program for 24 HEIs. It's a program for 24 HEI partnerships with a minimum of 3 in every consortium, and we've seen up to 5. So what is your thinking about the fact that it's not a single institution, but multiple institutions need to sort of lockstep together to make this entrepreneurial journey for the youth happen?
Thanks for inviting me. Thanks for inviting me. When we were designing this program, we were looking at lots of different opportunities, lots of different ways to do it. And one thing that I felt really passionately about myself, because I've worked in other higher education or university programs, is the power behind partnership. The British Council set up to promote partnerships in the UK, and other countries. And in higher education, that's exactly what we're trying to do. And this program, we designed to include both a UK partner, an African partner, and then somebody from the broader ecosystem. And we did that because we know that in higher education, there is often a barrier between the university and maybe the job market or other players in that broader entrepreneurial ecosystem. So we wanted to really push universities out there to get more connected, and some do that really well. And that's also why we wanted to make sure that it wasn't just one-off universities, that it was that partnership, because we want those learnings to be spread across all partners in it. We find that no university has all of it down 100%, but by building partnerships, working together, they quickly learn together what their strengths are and what they can replicate in themselves.
Thank you so much. So this is like really the first part that, ecosystems are really critical, and although a single institution can provide a lot, there is so much complementarity that a partnership brings together, as we've just learned, engineering skills, entrepreneurship skills, access to market, ethics approval. Not one institution could do it, and I think that's really a part of Brian's journey. And I just want to now segue to Professor James, focusing basically on the HEI. So, Professor James, what do you think is the role of higher education, and we spoke about it when we were speaking with Warren last week, in developing an entrepreneurial mindset both in staff and students?
Thank you very much, Viren. Thank you very much, Viren. Well, higher education basically means universities, basically. And in my view, universities are in a very privileged position because they are the last institution are basically being prepared. So when students join university, they are coming to learn from high school. They are basically acquiring basic knowledge. But the university is the last place where they have someone to teach them anything. After that, they are on their own. Therefore, traditionally, we've always trained for jobs, getting a job. However, the idea of entrepreneurship is new to the traditional university. Therefore, we are uniquely positioned, therefore, to rethink our programs and our mindset, our purpose even. Why are we existing at the university? Traditionally, we've thought of ourselves as places to teach you some skills, you go out and get a job, and if you want to go into business or entrepreneurship, you will learn somewhere outside there. However, now, it has come to the level of even younger people. Therefore, universities, role would be therefore to change their reason for existence. They need to factor in the idea that they are preparing people who can go and be self-employed. Number two, emphasize skills of entrepreneurship within their program curricula. And most importantly, change how they teach. There was a program today on program-based learning. Basically, the pedagogical approach we use need to be refined towards orientation, towards creating people who have an entrepreneurial mindset.
Thank you very much, Professor James. And Sarah, I'd love to get your views from Bayes Business School, picking up from one of the points that Professor James mentioned about the new pedagogical approach. I think some of the programs you run are quite different in the way they're taught. Would love to hear that, and also about the role of HEIs in developing this mindset.
Yes, thank you. Reflecting last night in preparation for the panel, I was thinking almost more important than the content is the process, the ways we do our teaching, the methods we use, our pedagogical approach, which can then be applicable across across disciplines, across schools, across departments, across whole universities. So at Bayes, we're lucky that or delighted that our MBA is rated first in the world first in the UK for entrepreneurship. We have a master's in entrepreneurship. We have a master's program in innovation, creativity and leadership, which is the one that I'm responsible for, which is an interdisciplinary program where we definitely emphasize the idea that Mary spoke about of not just knowing and saying, but doing. So learning through practice as being a very powerful way of developing students' skills around innovation and entrepreneurship. And that kind of sits within a context where the university as a whole is able to provide support for extracurricular activity in an incubator space, a pop-up university for the local community and so on. So there's a range of kind of functions, ways that we approach things that we're delighted to say feel very supportive of future entrepreneurs and innovators.
That's right. I think that's run out of battery. Thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you very much, Sarah. So, Brian, what would you say, because you've been a recipient at a university and supported through a number of institutions, what would you say should be the role of higher education in developing the entrepreneurial mindset in students?
Thank you. So I think right now most universities are catching up in terms of the skills required to run a business, and businesses have really evolved. It's good to see that the University of Nairobi is very innovative and accepting. I think previously universities have been very rigid in terms of accepting new curriculum or a new way of doing things. So I'd say that one of the things that maybe was not taught enough when I was in university was, I think, communication and presentation skills, especially in engineering. So it was when you have an idea, when you start presenting a business, you have to do a lot of presentations. And as an engineer, I just taught how to calculate things and just to make things. So it's really good to, I think, for any course in university to have that communication skills embedded in it. I know there is a common unit at the university that deals with that, but it may be something that maybe needs to be expanded in terms of how long it's taught. And also, I'd say, I think now we have a lot of hubs within the university. There are hubs if you want to create software. I think we have C4D Lab for most software innovations. We have Fab Lab here at the University of Nairobi for hardware innovations. So those are really good, and maybe they should be expanded so that students especially, or even people in the public, I know there are so many innovations out there that people want to partner with the university to bring them to the market, but they may not have the channels to do that. So the university should be more accepting to even innovations and research from the wider community. I think that will be really important and helpful.
Thank you very much, Brian. Thank you very much, Brian. And now I'm going to go actually to the audience. Students, take a minute. Think about the question you want to ask any of the panelists out here. Anything that comes to your mind. You've heard a lot about innovation, entrepreneurship, employability, and entrepreneurial mindset. I want you to take a minute and think about any question you might want to ask, write it down. I will try and fit it in the time, and then just make sure that you can bring it up to Mary and get it across. And we, as much time as we have, we will try and address it to the panels out there. So I'm actually going to pause for a minute to give you a chance to think about a question you might want to ask. No pressure. You can write it. No pressure. But you can write it and send it ahead where we can ask. Yes. Yes. Can we give her a mic, please? Can we give her a mic, please? Do you want to ask a question? Sorry. You want to ask a question? You're supposed to have a Q&A with the audience.
Good afternoon all. My question I've been asking since morning because I come from the communications department, and that is the journalism. And mainly we both know, or probably most of those people who have been in that department or faculty know, that ideas are stolen. So when it comes to innovation, how do you protect, or how, apart from the trademarks and the patenting, that takes some time? If I come, this question majorly probably could also have been answered by IAU, whereby you can say, or you can give your idea, your innovation as a startup without having to protect it under the government protocols. So how do you protect your innovation in case you want to bring it out, so that at least we are living in a world where people want to steal ideas? We have less innovators and more photocopiers, if I may say.
Thank you very much. It's a really important question, and we face this all the time. I'll take the opportunity to respond to this. There are three aspects to it. There is the idea, there's the innovation, and there is the individual. I'm going to break this myth. Ideas are cheap. We can run a design session together with Sarah and I, and we can create 80 ideas to solve a problem. If you do any course in design thinking, ideas are really cheap. What's really important in business is the execution. Right? You may be married to your idea out there, and we can run a session together and we can look at 10 different ways of solving the same problem. And there are techniques to doing that, and that's the creativity aspect of it. So that's about idea. What's really important is that if your idea is so easy to copy, then it would be copied. But you need to be the person passionate behind it, because you are the one who's going to see it through when the going gets tough. Entrepreneurs like Brian run out of money. They've hit the valley of death, as they say in Entrepreneur. But it's because of their persistence and their being committed to the idea and the execution that sees us through. So that's the difference between just an idea and a committed individual doing that. It's the same thing. It's the same thing about Elon Musk. When he started with firing rockets, they would go down. Everybody else would have given up. He continued. The third aspect is innovation. If you've got an IP-based innovation, you have a number of options. Mary heads the tech transfer office here, so you can protect IP. But there is also parallel thinking about this, that it is more important to get the business model out there working rather than waiting for all the protection to happen, because innovation moves fast. Innovation moves fast, so it's more important to let the rubber hit the road, get protection as you go along, rather than waiting for all the protection to happen before deciding to commercialize research. And just think about it, your idea you're thinking today, in another 180 countries, students like yourselves, or students in the same university, are thinking of similar ideas out there. It's not the ideas, it's the execution in the business. Anybody else wants to add?
A really great question. I'm reflecting on my previous career, and I'll reveal maybe my age to you guys, but I a long time worked in mobile money. So all of you know in Kenya how big of a deal M-Pesa is. We all use it here. For those online who aren't in Kenya, it's very much a cashless society. We use M-Pesa, this mobile money, on our phone. Back then, all over the world, everybody was talking about mobile money. but nobody was able to make it work. And I remember even in Kenya, I visited, and they were sort of talking about launching this new thing. You know, they were deciding what they call it. Eventually it was M-Pesa. And people were so worried about this idea. Oh, you know, we can transfer money on our phone. Nobody knows this secret idea we have. Little did they know, people in the Philippines, Malaysia, the US, Europe, everybody was talking about and thought they had some unique idea. But what Kenya did, to Veren's really great point, was Kenya really thought about the execution. And it went ahead and made it happen. And that's why today Kenya is the world leader in mobile money, because it was the first mover in that, and nobody else has been able to perfect that execution, just like Veren just said.
I totally agree with what has been said, and many students imagine that, or young people, that the idea they've had is kind of the first time, because it's new to them. So it sounds unique to you because you don't know much else. So what I would challenge you, one, Google your idea. You'll be shocked how many other people have that idea. Just try it out. But just one more story. I do teach a course we call it e-business, basically about e-commerce. And I started this course in the university, and it's been quite transformative to many students. Around 2012, I was teaching a class in Mombasa. I always ask them to do a practical project in the class. They make a website, have a business plan, and then I give them marks. One group came up with the idea of having some sort of online menus, whereby any restaurant could put their menu there, and then they could now have a delivery service. You could order food from any restaurant. And I thought, this is brilliant. So I told these students, they actually got very good marks, but I told them, please go and make this idea work. It's brilliant. But they were, after the course, they disappeared. I never saw them again. Some got A's. 2-3 years later, we saw Eat Out in Kenya. There's another one called Mama Something. They do the same thing. So, and I thought, wow, this is what these students had in mind. But me, I had no interest. But I realized they were onto something, but they didn't actualize it. So I think that's the same point, that what matters is execution. Don't worry somebody stealing your idea. What will they do with it? What are you doing with it? That's what you should ask yourself.
Students, questions? Yes. Students, questions? Yes, please. Can we get a mic over there, please? Or can you shout it out?
Good afternoon all. I'd like, first of all, to thank you all because of this great session. My name is Emmanuel Ngendo. I pursue a Bachelor of Arts in Anthropology here at the University of Nairobi. And I wanted to ask a very brief question. Speaking of developing an entrepreneurial mindset, I'd like to ask which is the best way to come up with a business idea. I mean, like, is it supposed to be geared by your passions, your interests, your dreams and ambitions and stuff? Because, like, for example, my course, it doesn't really focus on stuff to do with business and entrepreneurship. And I was wondering if you could answer that question. Yeah, or maybe you could do research or go outside there, get some exposure. Which is the best way to come up with a business idea? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brian.
Thank you for that question. I'd say the best way to come up with a business idea will be to identify a problem, because the best businesses are those that solve problems. And unless you're solving a problem, I don't know how you will create value. So I'd say just identify a problem, and it can be in any space. When that problem deals with something that you're passionate about, I think for me it was easier because I identified a problem that I was really passionate about solving, and I was in a position where I had some knowledge in that field. So for me, it was something that aligned, but it's not always the case. Once you identify the problem and you are sure that this is something that you want to solve, I think from there you can start creating solutions with those people that the problem affects, and you come up with so many ideas and test them, and then eventually you'll always end up with the best one. So that, for me, will be the best way to approach starting a business.
Thank you very much, Brian. So, I mean, simply put, you know, it's the intersection of what you're passionate about solving, that it's a real problem worth solving, you know, that, you know, somebody is going to pay you for it, and you bring a certain amount of skills and expertise or discipline to doing that. You know, that's usually a good mix. Just to give you a statistic, you know, almost sort of 50% of the companies, startup companies that are existing 5 years or beyond, were started by entrepreneurs who were solving a problem they were facing themselves. So, for example, Dropbox is one example. The person used to keep losing memory sticks, the CEO of Dropbox. He said there must be a better way out there. So don't disregard the fact if there's something that annoys you and you can find enough of a population and you can test that annoys other people too, and it's a problem worth solving, that is also a good way of doing that. So I'm going to move on to the panelists, and I'll come back to the students one last time to do that. I just want to come back to you, Andrew. What role do you see British Council playing as a catalyst in empowering HEIs and ecosystem players out there? Because you've obviously got a strategic role as a funder, but you know, what's the bigger vision in this whole sort of apparatus playing together?
Thank you. Thanks very much for that question. So one of the things that really makes us special is sorry, thank you. Thanks for the question. Something that makes the British Council unusual, and the reason why we want to play in this space, is we're in most African countries, and of course we're across the UK. So we have insights on the ground and a network on the ground across all these countries, you know, with many of the universities in these countries, and we're regularly dealing with African youth. So we know you, and we're really excited about your potential. And something that we regularly hear from African youth is, you are entrepreneurial. You want a job after graduation, but you have a lot of ideas. And this is something, frankly, that is really outstanding on this continent. So the British Council, we see ourselves, yes, as, you know, funding programs like this, but I think you really hit it on the head when you said we're a catalyst. We want to take programs like this and then make them grow. So even when our money runs out, you know, you guys are going on, both as universities, but also as entrepreneurial students, going and creating bigger impact. So we're sort of planting that seed through our network and a little bit of our money, and we're hoping your guys will run with it. Thank you.
So very much about planting the seeds and letting the other ecosystem kick in as the partnerships are going. Professor James, just coming to you and saying, your institution in some sense is a recipient of a program like this and many other programs over here in Africa. What role do you think institutions like the British Council, US, and and other institutions sort of help do which universities can't do on their own?
Okay. What Andrew said really is what they should be doing. What Andrew said really is what they should be doing, and I think they are doing it because I think they've kind of understood the problem. However, one area maybe they may want to think about is that the university's level is receiving students who are already very damaged. Note that only, say, maybe 1/6 of the students qualify for university. There's another large group which don't go anywhere. So also think about the high schools, but not so much the students, but the education system. Because like my children are now in high school, they are really bored. The curriculum is so boring. My son told me he doesn't see, he's very bright, but he's just really bored. So there's a problem really at the lower levels. So the bright student universities who are a bit creative is largely due to their rebelliousness. There were the students who are not very, they were a bit bad in high school. They kind of found it. So in a way, we need to think a little bit beyond university, because the damage really is done in lower levels. For example, one of the problems we have is that many students really hate mathematics, and it's because they are very badly taught in lower levels. Yet, I did engineering, and I know math is very doable, but it's how it's taught. So there's that problem at lower level. Then at the university level, I think you're doing well. What you may want to do is just strengthen, particularly with individual. What I saw in this program is great, because you're working with individual projects. That means you're creating, you would call them entrepreneurial champions within, and these people are not going anywhere. They will be there in university for the next 20, 30 years, bring positive change. So target creating, say, young faculty, make them like converts to this mindset, and they'll have long-term positive effect. Programs along that. That'll be great.
Thank you so much for identifying the advocates of change. That'll be the sustainable pillars for institutions, Professor James. Thank you for that. Warren, I just want to come over to you at the moment. So, you know, Koya Capital is a very niche player out there. So how does Koya Capital plug in as an important player in the HEI university ecosystem in the entrepreneurship space?
Thanks, Viren. And before I speak about Koya, and I can speak about Koya for quite a while, I just wanted to sort of just respond or reflect another thought on the previous question about you know, idea graft, right? How do you prevent people from stealing ideas? And I was just thinking that, you know, there are several ideas that a business needs in order to be successful, right? So you need not only the product idea, which is what I think the student was asking about, but you also need business model ideas, right? So how do you innovate not only the product, but also the business model? And I think you mentioned that. I was listening recently to talent innovation. How do you find the right team around you to ensure that you are actually all working together to productize that idea? Right? And so don't forget about the importance of getting the right people around you to ensure that whatever it is that you thought about, that actually comes to life or comes to fruition. You importantly actually are able to work together. And then most importantly, and this is now maybe the segue into talking a little bit about what we do, is don't forget about capital. You absolutely need capital to fuel, you know, your innovation and your energy. And I think it's the realization that we saw, both from my experience of working at LinkedIn and prior to that at Microsoft, that you have within universities this fantastic opportunity of bringing together different resources. You know, Professor was just talking about the academic side and all of the fantastic knowledge that you have within universities and the opportunity to create IP and research that you have within universities. In addition to that, you then have the fantastic energy of the students. We obviously saw some of the energy from the students and the agitation that they have, right, to move on and to do things, right? And so you have not only the guidance and the knowledge extension that academics could provide, but you have this energy that students bring. And of course, then you have infrastructure that the university has, you know, Wi-Fi access and buildings and fab labs and C4D labs and all of the fantastic infrastructure that the University of Nairobi would have built over the years. And what we need, in my mind, to ensure that these components now come together and create an ecosystem of entrepreneurs, not only capacity development, which I guess is part of what the British Council program is doing and all of the collaboration with other universities are doing, but importantly, you need capital. You need capital in multiple stages of the entrepreneurial process. At a very, very early stage, to, as Viren said, to ensure that you span the value of debt, but importantly, growth capital as these ideas now form products and products form you know, go-to-market strategies and minimum viable products and things like that. You need capital to fuel those ideas and to ensure that the growth becomes sustainable over time. And that is what Koya Capital does. So we are very, very focused around helping universities to commercialize their research and to spin out companies from universities, leveraging all of the things we spoke about, right? All of the assets that the university has. That's what we're focused on. We're very, very unique in that approach. So our thesis is all about helping universities, helping to fuel the growth of universities and commercializing their IP to ensure that when you leave university, you don't go look for a job, but you create a job that you help to grow and become a company that transforms the lives of people within your communities and across the world. So that's what we're about, and we're delighted to be here.
Thank you very much, Warren. So folks in the audience, we got time for 2 more questions before we wrap up. Any questions? Yes, all right, good. When I said 2, there are 4. Fantastic. You can get them a mic, please.
Good evening.
Yeah.
My name is Edgar Fuller. I'm a student here. I'm also a founder member of an organization that deals matters social security. You can validate this at www.bidrisgroup.co.ke. Mine is social entrepreneurship. The social security, social protection is a constitutional right, and the social protection is a role of national government as set out on 4th schedule of the Constitution of Kenya 2010. The main role of social protection is to reduce poverty and vulnerability by promoting efficient labor markets, diminishing people's exposure to risks such as unemployment, exclusion, disability, and old age. Article 43.3 of the Kenyan Constitution guarantees all Kenyan the economic, social, and cultural rights, ESC, and obligates the state to promote social security to those who cannot support themselves. My question now goes to entrepreneurship. You will find that, yes, we are talking about innovations, entrepreneurship, and businesses, but you'll find that when a startup business comes up, maybe for example you are operating Nairobi CBD, there are high chances that there is a payment of taxes, payment of levies, rentals, and all those. Those are some of the impediments that are affecting youths in businesses. So what are some of the focuses, or rather factors, that are being put in considerations to ensure that those ideas that are coming up, that are business-oriented, and like ours, which is a social entrepreneurship, are taken into consideration to ensure that that business, continues and thrive? Thank you so much, and may you have a good evening.
Thank you. I don't know why I was asked to answer this one. I can imagine. I understand. I understand. I think I really get his question. Very, very important issue. The biggest problem for Kenyan young businesses is really the lack of, let's say, institutional positivity. It's like the government and the system is set up to destroy a small business. A lot of taxes, a lot of harassment by the police, no special considerations. However, you may also want to appreciate that under the new constitution also there's there's policies that favor women, youths, people with disabilities. They get actually, like in my school, when I look at my budget, the tenders being given out are mostly for women. Even I was asking, what are the men? So there's already some positive affirmative action steps. So one, you need to take advantage of these ones. Number 2, what we ought to do, we as researchers and people who are promoting entrepreneurship, we need to also work on the legal and policy framework so that we examine it and see where are the gaps, where are the pain points. Then we need to have this changed through lobbying in Parliament, having the right bills drafted, and then partnering with the right activists to push for that agenda. This is actually a fight, and I think I'm aware that there's some people doing this, like I met Professor Winnie Mitula in our project. It's a struggle. We need to admit that. Therefore, you will not get the protection immediately, but if you fight for the protection you are looking for, you will get it after some push, because even the parliament or the people in the county government, they have been elected to serve the people. So it's a matter of continuous pushing, and you win things one at a time. You will not get everything one day. However, for the agenda for entrepreneurial, like for the British Council, they have a favored position because they are also kind of linked to the British government, maybe not so directly. But there is that dimension whereby the lobbying can also happen to the government to create a more favorable environment. And if it's a police, they can be told not to be so harsh. It's really all around policy and regulatory framework.
So something we're really excited about in this program. Yeah, sure. So something we're really excited about in this program is building that network of universities on, how can we make a difference in entrepreneurship? And you're absolutely right. We know regulatory barriers, tax barriers, et cetera, is one of them. One thing that we're looking at now is, as we go through these experiences with the different universities, what are those barriers? And is there something more we can do with the University of Nairobi and others to sort of give a voice to government, to tell them, look, this is really something we're seeing on the ground that's a real problem and something the government of Kenya or whatever, wherever could make a big difference. But one thing just on maybe the practical question for people in the room and students here, we all know this kind of change doesn't happen overnight. So what can happen, what can we do for you right now who might have an entrepreneurial idea and innovation that you want to take to market now or when you graduate? I think one of the things I can tell you is network existing entrepreneurs. This program, indeed many others, I know Professor James and others can link you up with people who have gone through the experience and can tell you how to navigate the current environment, whether it be the regulatory challenges you mentioned or others.
And Andrew, to your point of networking with... Thank you very much. And Andrew, to your point of networking with entrepreneurs, I'm just going to pass it to Brian because he's probably been through the journey.
Yeah, so I think that point on networking with other entrepreneurs is actually one of the main ways most of us solve the problems. We just talk to people within the same space, within the same ecosystem about how they've solved a particular challenge, and most of the time they actually have faced that challenge. Some good news is that there's a new law which is being drafted. I don't know how far it is. The Kenya Startup Bill, I think of 2020. There's a lot of public participation in the last 2 years, and once that comes into effect, there'll be a lot of freedom to operate for new startups. I think they'll give you like some time to figure your things out so that you can launch your business, and then before you get set up to start getting compliant and all that, sort of like a sandbox to play in before you can get compliant. But another way to navigate that is just to pair yourself with an established institution. I think the main challenge you'll face is not taxes, because you only pay taxes if you're making money, and if you're making money, then just pay the taxes. But when you pair yourself with an institution, you can just navigate sort of certifications and all these regulatory requirements that are in place. Yeah.
So we're going to move on at speed. I hope that's been helpful. You've got three quite different sort of contextual responses, including a real life example for Brian. Professor Jia, there is one question for you. Would you say that the apprenticeship, which was the main means of transmitting skills in the pre-industrial period, is set for a comeback as a norm in the society, replacing formal learning? Wow.
Thank you very much. Apprenticeship is basically learning on the job. And the way the question is framed, it's asking whether it's making a comeback. I did happen once to visit Germany on some form of program we had once, and I learned about the German education model, whereby they mix the university. So by the time you graduate, you're already working and you're very, very skilled. So to me, I wouldn't say it's coming back. Probably in some education systems, it's black and white education and work. However, the way the question is framed, I would agree, yes. I would wish it could become like that one. But whether it's coming back, it's really a policy of the country. But in practice, what I would say has happened is that because of a lot of available knowledge online, many people are learning online and doing things on their own without having even go to a very formal institution. So as you are doing something, you are learning from a YouTube video, and you do it. I know many of young people trying to innovate are actually doing that. So I would say, therefore, that I would agree, yes, it is making a comeback, or it is a good way forward. Personally, I would wish it would be integrated more in formal learning systems like universities, because the working and the learning need to be more intertwined. And in a way, because of also rapid innovation in technology, work is changing all the time. So when you work, you have to keep learning. So that learning and working should be almost not so much divided. And so I would agree with that.
Thank you. And the last question, because I want to give complete regard to the fact that you've taught and written questions and send them up. So the last question is, how do you copyright your information project or content while you're just a junior? You're never a junior trying entrepreneurship. I've tried entrepreneurship mid-age. There's a lot of negative exploitation out here. I think, Brian, I'm going to come to you, because we know that software you can't patent, technology you can, business models are not patentable. So how did you go about sort of copywriting or protecting yourself?
Yeah, so I think that's very important, because especially people feel robbed when you share an idea with someone and then you see it out there on the market. So for us, we have like a huge IP strategy where we have patents, we have trademarks, and I think the most important part that we have is called the trade secrets. So trade secrets is where you identify something which is very valuable to you and it is only known to yourself. I think most businesses that can't patent should take advantage of this, so that when you go to negotiate with maybe with a new partner and you're going to do a presentation, you have a list of your trade secrets, and they really have to, there's a guideline on what qualifies as a trade secret. So it has to be something which brings value, it has to be something that you've really worked on, so that once you negotiate with a partner, they sign an NDA, and then you share this trade secret with them, and they acknowledge that this is a trade secret, and this is something they didn't have before, and it's well documented who you've shared with. So if this partner goes ahead and launches a similar idea, you have something to come back on, and still it's a trade secret, meaning it's not in the public domain, so you prevent competition from coming and directly copying you. So when doing presentations, when sharing your idea, just be careful not to share these very detailed things about the business.
Thank you very much. And you also have, headed by Mary, a technology transfer office out here, and you can probably get advice. It's a wide field, can't be done in a session. It's got everything from design, patents, trademarks, copyright, registered trademarks. Yeah, it's a whole field out there. I'm just going to bring this to a close. Can I just ask the panelists the one thing that you would want to leave your audience with? And I want to, Sarah, start with you.
Sure, thank you. And I've heard so many ideas in the last couple of hours, I almost don't know where to start. So I'm just going to go back to the one I joined with, which is simply seize every opportunity you find to change yourself and your world for the better.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Warren.
I think that I would say execute.
You're on mute.
Yeah, I think that I would say execute. You know, and don't constrain yourself into thinking only about the original idea that you've come upon. But remember that there are a number of other ideas and innovations that you would have to put together in order to become a successful entrepreneur. And of course, we as a partner, as an ecosystem partner, would love to support you in bringing those ideas to life.
Thank you very much, Brian.
Thinking of going into entrepreneurship to really focus. Yeah, so I'd encourage everyone that's thinking of going into entrepreneurship to really focus on that problem they started solving, and not fall in love with a particular solution midway, so that you're distracted from the problem that you're solving.
Thank you very much, Andrew.
My advice to you is that although the system doesn't have all the entrepreneurial support on a platter, and that's what we're working to do with programs like this, it is all there. You need capital, there's ways to get it. You need mentorship, there's ways to get it. You need tools and access to government or advice product to bring your product to market. All that is there. You just need to find it. And that's something that I wouldn't want you to feel you have to wait. You can go now with your idea, explore it, and make it happen.
For me, one is not all of us will become successful entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs. We are not built for it. For those of us who are, know that what the thing I want to leave you is one, accept to fail many times and stand up and keep failing until I think the idea is to make all your mistakes until you hit the one which is not a mistake. You will be remembered for your successes, not your failures. Thank you.
What's a way to end this session? Can we appreciate them? Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you, thank you. The take home was just awesome. I don't want to repeat it because they have said it. I would like you just to take a moment, write down your take home. We have been here, what is your take home? And when you go home, reflect on it, make it happen. I talked about knowledge sets. So at this level is knowledge set. Translate all the knowledge sets to hard set. Having said that, we had a very great afternoon session, and I want to thank my panelists. Asante sana, as we would say here in Kenya. I want to thank my physical audience. I want to repeat again, asante sana, as we say it in Kenya. And I want to thank our online audience, particularly the IAU program audience. As we say here again in Kenya, asante sana, and that means thank you. We also have our online students who have logged in from various parts of the world, and particularly University of Nairobi. Again, asante sana, and thank you, thank you. Let's clap for all of us for a job well done. As we end, we want to take, experiences are made of this. So we want to take a photo here. So the panelists who are here will still remain here. I'll ask Sam to come on stage. I'll ask the first panel to come on stage so that we can have memories, because we say life is about memories. So we will take a photo there. So just come. Some will stand behind and others will sit. As my panelists do that, and also Sam does that, I'll also ask the network partners representative who are here. Network partners representative who are here, come on stage. We want to document these memories. As we do that, we do not want to forget our online audience, and I'm asking my ICT technical team to flash the outline, the online audience. If you are able, please put on your cameras. We want also to document your memories and experiences. We take online photos, and we all say together, thank you, thank you. If you are able to unmute, I hope my ICT, you can unmute. Those who are able to show their face, we are not leaving you behind. There is online experience documentation. And I would like also, as you do that, as we are taking the photo here, just be saying thank you in the language that you understand. The language that I speak is Kiswahili. So I'm saying asante sana. And I'm also calling Kayaba Africa. Please, you be on stage, entertain the physical audience as well as the online audience. And those who are not taking the photos, please stand up and enjoy the music.
The 6th edition of Nairobi Innovation Week, organized by University of Nairobi, is happening from 26th to 28th April 2022 at the main campus, Great Court. This year, Nairobi Innovation Week is themed Innovation for Transformation and Impact in the Society. Join us as we catalyze a movement of innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem in higher education sector in Kenya and beyond. This year event will be a fusion of innovation solution shapers in industry, academia,